Welcome to the preamble. We're talking Tyson. Yeah, he's 58. 58 and almost died of a ulcer blow up like 6 months ago. Yeah. I'm 55. I assume I don't heal a ton faster than he does. I don't think I'd be ready to have a fist fight with a man 30 years younger than I if I had gone through such a thing.
It'll be a spectacle, if nothing else.
Did you see that interview you had with that little girl about like what's your legacy?
I tweeted it.
Like I'm Dustin away, baby. I'm nothing.
My legacy means fucking nothing. How arrogant would it be for people to even consider me after I was dead, except for maybe my children? Arrogant, it's bullshit. She's like in 5th grade, and he's just like, you know, he's going straight up ghetto Camus on her, and she's just like, which
wow. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, exactly. She was perfect. I never heard that before. Of course you haven't, honey, because you're 12 years old. And no one wants to talk to a 12-year-old like that, except for maybe Mike, who's feeling a little existential dread ahead of his fight with the 30-year-old younger than he is guy.
Russell, I meant to ask you, what do you think about these layoffs at AMD? Did that surprise you?
I mean, all these companies are always laying off. Any good company should always be laying people off, right?
As long as Paul Meeks doesn't work there.
Yeah, it's the bottom 15% should always be fired, and I think a lot of these companies have realized when you have thinner staffs, you work better, you're faster.
So you don't think it's necessarily a tell? We know that their consumer electronics focused business cannot be great. Every time they report, they do give a little bit, at least modestly better revenue guidance for AI stuff. But it was 1,000 heads. It was 4% of their global workforce. Pretty big.
Well, they got a lot of different businesses, right? They have the embedded systems business, CPUs. So I'm sure with a company of that size, you're always going to have some group that can be trimmed and, want to fire in embedded systems and want to hire in GPUs.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on it because usually they bring some of this stuff up on the the quarterly webcast, and of course we kind of already got that one in the review when they're kind of doing it in the middle of the quarter. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, as I tend to do.
I mean, someone else had a good
Robert, you now energized? You all pumped up now?
I'm all pumped up now.
Woo, nice.
I'm gonna pump this heck out of.
There you go. Hey, we bring you on to be the microcap specialist. That's your
when they get added to the Russell 2000 next spring. Well, Katie barred the door.
Katie, I had a college football coach. He's the only person I've ever heard say Katie barred the door. That was 1985.
I say stuff like that, like maybe 3 times a month, just to get a rise out of my kids. Just because they.
You know what I love this morning is you see Bakes, sent out a note and he quoted Bachman-Turner Overdrive.
Which one?
Grade. I love Bachman-Turner Overdrive. I think it might have been.
How deep a cut did he do? Was it taking care of business? Was it? What did he do? Yeah. Okay, there you go. You get up in the morning. It's a long. Yeah. Who doesn't like Bachman-Turner Overdrive on a Friday? Yeah. Or really any day of the week?
Of course, remember back then you listened to a drugstore and you bought the 45. Right? Remember going to the drugstore and buying the 45 instead of the album? It would have the hit would be the A side, and then you'd have some scrub song on the B side.
Not to play super young guy on you, but they had record stores when I was a kid, so we would tell them. But it's the same idea. I miss the 45s. I miss those like crazy.
On Wall Street Beats. All right, guys, we're coming into the final countdown.
All right.
Market's getting a little slobber now.
Oh yeah, what's it down?
Over 1%.
Wow, about 1.5% of the NAS.
The post-election bloom coming off the rose, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I see stocks up, down. It's like stuff's all over the place.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're here at Wall Street Beats, specifically the Roundtable. I'm hosting today. I'm Paul Meeks, one of the tech voices, though we also have Russell Young with us, who I lean on for tech coverage. So that should tell you something. We're also joined by Jeff Macke and Robert Marcin. Very smart dudes. So before we go any further, I tell you, I think I have a bead on the tech sector, but I'm always listening to Russell. And then I'm definitely listening to all these other guys because they're so smart and so experienced in other sectors. So I think you should too. And I think you should subscribe to wallstreetbeats.com or subscribe through wallstreetbeats.com. So anyway, let's get on with the show. Today is November 15, 2024. Market's a little weak. Maybe the bloom has come off the post-election Trump rally, but we'll see. Today, we're going to start with Robert. And Robert told me he's going to bring it today with a couple of smaller cap names. That's his shtick. So, Robert, what say you today?
Yeah, Paul, got two names that I've talked about here in the past. Koru Medical. It's a company that I recommended in the $2.40, $2.50 range a couple times. And I had expected them to have an aha quarter, which was a major acceleration in growth. It makes a disposable pump and a needle and tubing system. It's a cranked pump. It's gravity works, and they made it for subcutaneous injections into people's belly, basically for specialty drugs. And they found out a couple of years ago that at home it was configured for home use, individual use. They found out there were clinics using it for oncology drug delivery in Europe, and they've done a study, and 97% of the nurses that work in infusion centers prefer it because it's a pain in the ass to do a drug delivery manual in an infusion clinic. It's 10 to 15 minutes of very hard sustained pressure. And anyway, to cut to the chase, the numbers were great. The TAM appears to be going up by 10 times if they can get the oncology market at $3-ish, give or take. It's about 3.5 times EV to sales. And that's not terrible for a company growing 20 to 25%. I'm expecting an acceleration from 17% growth this year to 20 to 25% next year with 65-ish% gross margins. Now, they're still investing for lots of new growth, and that ain't cheap. So they're going to probably break even or lose a little money in 2025. But they're also going to be cash flow positive. So if you want to buy something, it's not easy to buy. It's a very thin stock. Some days it doesn't trade at all. Some days it trades 1 million shares. You just have to buy it on the right day. But I think, if this works, this oncology market clinic penetration, I think this stock, could be a 2, 3, 4 bagger from here over a few years.
Okay. So how about our buddies over at Ceragon?
Yeah, Ceragon it's one of the cheapest technology hardware companies in the world today, from my perspective.
Yeah,
they make backhaul equipment for cell phone, and that's that just assembles all the data and phone and puts it back into the network from farther out from fiber, from the major nodes of a network. And they do this with microwave radios, and these guys have the best microwave radio IP in the world. Last quarter, they grew 17% year on year. 10% was organic. 7% was a brilliant acquisition they made. And so the company is trading for half of sales, and its net cash position, strong IP, strong management. And I think the street is 40 cents next year. I'm closer to 45 cents, but even at 40 cents in 25 and maybe 50 cents in 26, if the world holds together, you could argue it's like 6 to 7 times earnings next year and even cheaper on the out year. So for a company growing double digits organically, now there's some warts here. The telecom industry does suck right now, especially 5G spending is terrible. So all the other companies, Ericsson and Nokia and those guys are, sucking wind. So apparently they're, being the best house in a bad neighborhood isn't good these days. So the market is just ignoring them. But they have 4 or 5 different ways to win with accelerating revenue growth. And if they ever get some respect, like a 15 PE on a 50-cent number in 2 years, You have a $7.50 stock. That's nearly a triple from here. I don't
Yeah.
understand why the world just refuses to acknowledge that this is a strong IP secular growth business, but it doesn't. It's Israeli, which is one strike, and it's telecom, which is two strikes. And no matter how good the numbers are, the Wall Street seems to find a reason to sell this stock between $2.50 and $3.
Well, Robert, I looked it up myself. So 7 times earnings, revenues grow about that clip next year, at least according to the street. But EPS is supposed to rise almost 30%.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we must have an operating margin expansion story here.
So I have this series with Herb Greenberg, Too Cheap to Be True. And stay tuned because this is too cheap to be true.
And then I also noticed that their net income and free cash flow are essentially the identical numbers. That makes me feel better about the accounting. I'm always looking for free cash to net income conversion back and forth.
Yes.
Because sometimes when I see a big disparity, I see accounting shenanigans.
Right.
But anyway, I'm particularly, of course, I'm biased, Robert, as a tech analyst. I'm particularly interested in this Ceragon story.
So I buy it, put it away for a 3-year product cycle because they have the only low cost 28 nanometer ASIC in the business, and their competition is 2 generations behind, and it's a third party vendor that makes it, MaxLinear, that might be getting out of the business. One of their biggest competitors, Nokia or Ericsson, is in actual discussions with them for using their chip for their radios. So that would be a big deal if that happened.
Cool, and you heard it here first from Dr. Marcin. You to make me
Third
laugh.
rail.
I expect you to make me laugh and educate me, and maybe drop a S word or an F word. I expect all that stuff from you this morning. So what say you?
No, I'm gonna try to be kid friendly this morning because I know the kids love this. We're like SpongeBob SquarePants. We're big with the young people. Hey, let's talk Target. I wrote a whole thing up on Wall Street Beats, and I don't want to give it all away, but people can check that out there. They report next week. Next week is the Lollapalooza of earnings retail week. It's important because it's obviously Christmas. It's our best look at it. We've seen decent revised numbers anyway on the retail sales. I think Christmas comes in better than expected. I think Walmart beats. I think Target is going to kick the living shit out of their numbers, Paul. I'm going to violate my S-word policy right there early because I don't want the suspense to be hanging over. I don't want it to be the sword of Damocles. When's he going to swear? I just did. I give you a few catalysts, and again, I laid them out on Wall Street Beats. Target, I've been there yesterday. Look, I got a Batman Santa Claus. That's exciting stuff for $9.99. The stores are well merchandised. They're great. But here's something that's nuts and bolts is that shrink is reversed. It's reversed for Target. It's reversed for the other retailers. We've seen it peak for the last 2 quarters. That's gone from a huge headwind for the retailers to a tailwind. Now, you can complain, and people do, that the data is fake and that no one's reporting. But the thing is that, Target actually has put it into numerical terms. They've lost 1.2% of their operating margin since 2019 to 2023, straight up to shrink. That's over $1 billion. Target earns about $5 billion a year. So you add back $1 billion, you add back a fraction of that, just a little bit. Just give me a little love. And you're talking about a huge EPS tailwind that is only really now manifesting itself. One thing we saw from the election that no one's talking about, Prop 36 in California, which was a little bit of a walk back from the infamous, if you steal less than $1,000 worth of stuff, it's not a felony law that was adopted throughout the nation, copied from California. That was, Prop 36 was a repeal of that to a degree. That passed by 70% popular vote in California. There is nothing that 70% of Californians agree on. Yeah. And it's society is fed up with this. The shrink, it's peaked in America. We're on the other end of that. And right now, Target already saw a 90 basis point improvement in shrink last quarter. They're expecting an improvement this quarter. They've been a little cagey about what happens in Q4. I tell you what, based on that election, Q4 is also going to be a shrink tailwind. So I think it's improving on a lot of different levels. Target kind of comes and goes. They're a little more cyclical. That's why they trade at such a discount to Walmart and Costco, which crank out quarter after quarter. Target, they got into the culture wars. They got involved in a lot of stuff they shouldn't. But when they're hitting, man, they hit. And right now, the stores look great. It's your ideal Target experience is I came in just wanting to buy some crackers and I ended up with 3 t-shirts and, Walkman or headphones or something. And they're back to that. They're back to that model. Discretionary has shown increased sales for them for the last 2 quarters as well. Discretionary is obviously what makes Target tick. I just think they're setting up for a beat. They get no respect. Short interest is at 3-year highs with the stock down 50%. It's late to be shorting it, that's for sure. It's a decent chart. I like it long. I'm getting long ahead of earnings next week. I'm kind of excited about it.
So they'll report earnings next week. You expect a beat, but they'll obviously just talk about inventory levels and expected demand for the Christmas selling season, because that doesn't come for another month or so.
Yeah, well, they're giving a real insight. They know. Walmart is going to tell you. Walmart is America. You do a couple $1 billion in sales a day in America, and you are effectively the American customer. So this idea that Walmart's stealing share from the rich or the poor or the whoever, they sell to everybody at this point, and they're really good. They report Tuesday. They're going to report a terrific number, but they'll tell us what Christmas is going on. They already know, and they know early, and they know they already ordered their Christmas product last summer, and right now they're just kind of tweaking the format. But this is a great time if you believe in going into stores, and I do. I've spent a lot of time on the road going to Target, as I said, because this is when you get to see what they think Christmas is going to be. By the time you get to mid-December, the stores are kind of supposed to have a Fall of Saigon vibe to them. We got to fight over that last squishable or whatever proves to be the hot toy. You just got the parents kind of battling it out. Right now, the stores look the way they want to look. This is what they think Christmas is going to be. You go to a Home Depot, it's a magical Christmas wonderland. I bought an 8-foot Santa Claus statue at Home Depot. I didn't expect to make that purchase. There's nothing more discretionary on this earth, save maybe pet costumes, than an 8-foot Santa Claus. But I was like, $300 is a great price for this. My God, I'm going to create a fairyland. And I did. And so he's sitting on my porch right now. It's just a good Christmas. It's the best we've had in a few years, at least, I think, vibe-wise and the store-wise. And I'm pretty excited about this reversal in shrink, Paul. It's a big deal. It's a big deal to me socially. I take it as a personal thing, and I think Target has been on the real bleeding edge of that. They're the discount store that, unlike Costco, where you need a membership card to get in, unlike Walmart, which operates kind of more closed boxes, Target is intended to be big and friendly and a place everyone's comfortable, and nobody's comfortable with the theft. Target does not want to be locking up their toothpaste. If we can get to the point where they take that aquarium vibe out of their stores, holy shit, I just swore again, it's going to be Katie bar the door to the upside, because you're going to move a lot more toothpaste if you don't have to lock it up like it's a freaking the crown jewels or something and call for a guy to come get it for you 12 minutes later.
So Jeff, with that Santa Claus statue purchase, if I went by your house in a couple of weeks, would you have that house that looks like Chevy Chase's house from Christmas Vacation?
Yes, only cooler. I haven't even begun. I might go to Home Depot right now. I enjoy the way this segment went. I like talking to you guys. I'm a little jacked over Christmas, and I'm going to get another. Maybe I'll get Santa's reindeer. He's got an 8.5-foot reindeer that you can buy with him. I just couldn't figure out where to put it and whether or not the dogs would hate it.
On the roof.
All right, guys, let's move on. Our cleanup batter today is Russell Young, and he always has a lot to say about whether they're macro or micro variables, all sectors of the economy. Of course, I lean into him pretty heavily on tech. But what do you got for us today, Russell?
Hey, good morning, Paul. So today I want to talk about HIMSS, because there's a lot of fireworks yesterday as Amazon announced that they were getting more serious about doing getting into hair loss, rectal dysfunction. And the stock had a 25% move down, but the days before it was up there on a short squeeze. And so what I want to talk about is the real fireworks start next week on the 21st, when the FDA and the Compound Association returns to court to hear about if the GLP-1s are going to be off the shortage list, okay? And the background of the story is the FDA took tirzepatide, Mounjaro, off the shortage list, and the compounders sued them and said, our members are still finding there's product in shortage. So what's interesting, when you go to the FDA website right now and you put in Mounjaro for the drug shortage list, the boxes come up and it says, even when a medication is available, patients may not always be able to immediately fill their prescription at a particular pharmacy. That is especially true for refrigerated products and products with multiple dose strengths due to factors like ordering practices and incentives. Patients may experience variability at a particular pharmacy location, regardless of whether a drug is in shortage. Now, sorry to read that out loud, but what it's telling you is the FDA is making it very clear just because individuals are reporting that they can't buy a drug does not mean it's going to be on the shortage list. Okay, so the FDA seems very qualified, and that they've been talking to Novo Nordisk, they've been talking to Eli Lilly to take these drugs off the shortage list. And so they're going to come out with a very compelling case. Now, we learned more when Novo Nordisk reported last week as well, because on their call, they said they are working with the FDA to clarify what's in shortage. So the FDA is looking at batch lots, they're looking at increased production capacity, and Novo Nordisk said even expect our sales of semaglutide to go up because it's off the shortage list. So what does this mean? It means that the FDA is going to say the drugs are they're off the shortage list, and then HIMSS is going to have 60 days to continue to supply the product. Then it's going to have to take it off the market. We can go to the next slide and so we can go to the next one too.
And of course, all these slides will be up on our site. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's what it was. So it's really hard to read this. So let's just take down the slides and we'll just put them up on the website. Yeah, we can take those down. And
while you're there, subscribe.
Yeah. So anyway, so HIMSS will have 60 days to get the products off the market, but you look at HIMSS commentary, and they're going to try to keep the products on the market as long as they can. They've been out with a very direct-to-consumer or direct-to-investor ad campaign saying there's an obesity crisis, we're helping solve this problem. So they're trying to have this, judged in the court of public opinion, but that's going to be very hard. But what's also interesting about HIMSS is when you go to the Better Business Bureau site and you read the customer reviews, you'll see a lot of polarized ratings. You see a lot of 5-star ratings and a lot of 1-star ratings. And I question those 5-star ratings if, who's actually doing those. But the 1-star ratings, those are coming from customers. But you'll go through the ratings and you'll find a lot of customers saying, hey, wait a minute, I've been trying to cancel. I can't cancel this product. The product doesn't work. I have no customer response. And that's important because with Amazon coming to the business, there's going to be a lot of disgruntled, customers who can't get off HIMSS or who have been burned by HIMSS because they can't cancel the product. That going to Amazon, which is very customer friendly, will be, it's a great alternative. So I think HIMSS is going to fight this. They're going to try to stay on the market, and I think Novo is going to be suing HIMSS, and this is going to get really messy. And at the end of the day, HIMSS is going to try to blame the FDA for not allowing these products to be on the market. So all eyes on this Thursday.
Ooh, that's going to be a gangbuster.
The point is, you're a seller or short the stock because it doesn't sound like
I'm negative on HIMSS. Yeah, I'm negative on HIMSS.
Yes.
And how about would you be going long or stay away from Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly?
David's been commenting on these stocks is that they're great companies. They're just expensive stocks. So, I'm not doing anything there. But in biotech land, a lot of healthcare stocks are getting sold off with RFK coming into the FDA. But one stock that I'm adding to today is Bridge Bio, symbol BBIO. They're going to be at the American Heart Association this weekend, and they're going to be giving good data on their mortality benefit. They have a new drug to treat a condition called ATTR, which is high plaque in your arteries, and they have a great drug to address this problem. They'll be giving data this weekend, and then they'll be hearing from the FDA, their PDUFA date, by the end of this month. So I think this is a great setup where there's tons of negativity in the stock. They're going to be giving great data this weekend. And then I believe the FDA will approve this drug by the end of the month. So I think this is a a very interesting stock.
Hey, Russell, swinging back to HIMSS and Amazon, they've tried a bunch of this stuff. It's Amazon traditionally announces a lot of things, and more often than not, it just hammers absolutely every stock in the industry. The classic example being the takeover of Whole Foods that took billions and billions of dollars out of every grocery store imaginable. So 25% seems like a lot from Amazon making a head fake in kind of a adjacent to industry. They've tried a lot of healthcare before. How real do you think that threat is for HIMSS, and when do you think it manifests itself? I mean, is Amazon, I know they announced it. It seems like a different approach to rather than just doing healthcare, they're doing erections and hair, which is much less controversial. But I mean, do you think they're going to have any sticking power on it? I mean, it's what's their commitment, and when do you think that impacts HIMSS? Because until it starts actually hitting their top line, which it will if Amazon goes into it hardcore. But I mean, how many quarters out are we talking?
Well, I mean, great questions. And we don't know. I mean, we say 25% is a lot. The stock has been hyper volatile. With the 25% correction, the
fair
stock
enough,
is
absolutely
3 days ago, right? So it's, that.
I mean, I would argue it would have gone down 25% just because that's what it would have gone down whenever they said it. HIMSS could have been bottoming and people just would have sold it whatever price it was at. So leaving that aside, it's a big move.
Yeah. What I found interesting is I was playing around with the Amazon website yesterday, and you can log in, and they make it actually very easy to you create a Amazon a one main account, and then you can either decide to have a video chat or a text chat. And a text chat is like $29, and a video chat I think is $60. And so you actually interact with a pharmacist. Which is a little more hands-on. I mean, with the HIMSS approach, you just kind of say, I want a prescription, and they fill it. And so I don't know, they say they have a pharmacist or a doctor review it, but who knows what's really going on there. But it's a way that if you're looking for these drugs that you can get on and, you can order them. I mean, HIMSS is great on their marketing. They're very clever. This is a marketing company and do an excellent job. So I think HIMSS will outmarket Amazon. But if you're just looking that's why I brought up the HIMSS case. If you've been burned by HIMSS and have not been able to cancel your medication, Amazon's going to be consumer friendly, right? That if you want to buy it and cancel it, you can do that. With HIMSS, if you want to buy a product, you have to sign up for a subscription that's on auto renew. That's hard to cancel, and that's not customer friendly. So
I mean, to be blunt, with all the Alexa microphones they have in your house, Amazon knows how many times you're having sex every month. I mean, and if you think they're not going to cross-reference that and use it, you're out of your mind. So I put up Amazon's ability to market this and effectively say, hey, sailor, would you like a little more of our little dysfunction drug there? Because I notice it's working pretty well for you. That's going to be an effective marketing strategy for Amazon. Be a little creepy, sure, but we share a lot of things with Alexa.
They'll know who's not getting enough action and definitely serve them some ads.
It's an interesting expansion of the Amazon influence.
So we'll see, right? It's still all to be find out. But I mean, HIMSS is a great marketing company. I'll give them that. But I'm more focused on. I think HIMSS is making a big deal about all this GLP-1 with all this direct-to-consumer advertising. They took out a full page in the New York Times because it's accelerating their growth right now, and it's really meaningful to them. And so that's. But we do know this is going to happen. Well, I believe this is going to happen next week, and so that's what I know. And what Amazon does, we'll find out.
Hey, Russell, did you want to conclude our program with a thought on Applied Digital?
Applied Digital, today, NVIDIA had put out their 13F last night, and it showed up in their filing. If you've been paying attention to the stock, you knew that NVIDIA had participated in their last offering. But a lot of the retail crowd, and we saw this with SoundHound, right, which is kind of a questionable company. And the stock went bonkers. So it showed up last night, and the stock was moving on that. I think investors in Applied Digital, we're still waiting for the announcement on their big hyperscaler. I still think this is going to happen. When we saw what happened with Talon Energy and Amazon, right, about PJM not allowing them to serve their customers, the hyperscalers are going to be looking for data centers with power in the West, especially states like North Dakota, that have power. So if anything, what happened last week with Talent Energy is very positive for Applied Digital. And so if you have power and you have centers ready to go, I think you're in a great setup. I think we're just hung back. I mean, I expected the announcement by now. It could happen any day, but I just don't know when it's going to hit. But it's but seeing NVIDIA show up, we knew it was going to be there anyway. But it's more like the retail enthusiasm.
Yeah. Well, you guys, that's all the time we have today. We're swinging into a weekend. Hey, Jeff, Russell, Robert. Hey, I really appreciate your time today. And Jen Seelig, you're our producer. We don't do this without you. But anyway, you guys, some great stuff today. Go to wallstreetbeats.com. I strongly recommend you to subscribe. Will be super profitable for you. And you know what? We'll see you guys on Monday.
Okay. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
We should have wished Mike Tyson well.